In an age where information moves faster than
There are
ever,
170
the
million
media
American
industry
users on
stands at
TikTok,
a
right?
crossroads,
About
and the
40%
tension
of
in
those users
America
get
is
their
at an
news
all-time
just
high.
on TikTok. That's several
Civil
million
unrest
people.
is a growing threat, and journalism, broadcasting, and filmmaking are evolving, or, as some would argue, unraveling.
I think it's reaching a point where something has to change a little bit because it's once again it's reaching this crisis point.
Under the weight of a rapidly changing world. To understand this moment and what comes next, filmmaker Thomas Blackmore sat down with John Shafer, a man whose career has spanned decades of media transformation, alongside Dr. Philip Fox and Professor Dan Nocera, educators shaping the next generation of storytellers. Together, they reflect on the evolution of the industry, its current challenges, and its uncertain future. This is more than one man's story. It's about the past, present, and future of the media industry we all rely on, and where we go from here. John Shafer's career is a testament to his dedication to communication and the arts. Before joining Middlesex Community College, now part of the CT State Community College, Shafer honed his skills in television production and theater management. These early experiences gave him a comprehensive understanding of the media landscape and prepared him to guide future storytellers.
John Shafer is a very is an extraordinary person, sort of kind of Renaissance man, who started off at a different place that he wound up, and that's really wonderful. Just able to access those different skills and learn a lot of new things. So that was valuable to me because I am that way as well. I love to learn new things. So we had a series of wonderful conversations about sort of jumping around and learning different skills in different areas. I think the other thing about John is that he understood the history of CT State Middlesex and Middlesex Community College, having been here for quite a number of years. And it was just wonderful to interact with him and understand where the college is now and where it has been. And the other thing that I'll say is it's just it's nice to work with someone who cares about students. And that was a great opportunity for John and I to connect to talk about advising. And I can't even imagine the number of students he's advised in that long, his successful career.
So having worked alongside John Shafer for 32 years, and then what the viewers might not know is I actually started here at Middlesex when I was in high school. So John was my teacher when I was in high school. I took a class. I took what is the digital video class now. It was just called TV 101 or something like that. I took that class with John Shafer, learned how to shoot with a big camera and deck and how to edit on these two big tape machines. So I've had John as a teacher, and then as a mentor, and then as a colleague for the last 30 years. And how his vision has shaped this place is he was talking about things back then when I was younger that I don't think people really grasped. He was talking about the internet. He liked to talk about the internet a lot in the early 90s and late 80s. And this is before there was an internet. There was things like portals you could log into and get email and things, but the internet as we know it, where there's web pages you go to, didn't quite exist yet. And he would always tell us that this is going to change everything, and you're going to be one day able to order things and plan trips and look up things and put video on the internet. And it was hard for us to imagine that as students, but he was right.
Well, I can tell you that initially I didn't necessarily want to be a teacher, a faculty. I mean, my initial interest was really to work in media. But I will say that, I spent some time, after I graduated from a film and media degree, and I got a master's degree in film and media from Syracuse, I actually went to France, and I lived in France for a year, and I was actually working in the film industry in France. That was partly because I had some connections in France. So, but I could not continue to work in France because, of legal reasons. I had the ability to work there for a year, but then I didn't have the ability to continue working there. So so I came back to the United States, and then I actually wanted to go to Los Angeles and try to get a job in the film industry and film and media entertainment industry in Los Angeles, which I did. So I spent a lot of time looking and applying for jobs there. Did not have a lot of success. Also, I really didn't like Los Angeles because I lived there for 3.5 years when I was going to school at the University of Southern California. It's very smoggy. I hated the highways. I just decided I didn't really like Los Angeles, and I didn't want to get a job and work for the rest of my life in Los Angeles. So actually, I ended up getting a job working in advertising down in San Diego, which I worked in advertising for a year. But I decided I didn't like advertising either. So it was kind of fun. I was making TV commercials and a bunch of stuff, but the whole business of working in advertising was not something I wanted to spend a lot of time doing. Now, when I was at Syracuse in graduate school there, I actually started teaching because I had a teaching graduate assistantship. So I actually taught 2 or 3 classes. I think I taught 3 classes while I was there as part of my graduate program. And that's where I got into teaching. And that's where I said, hey, I kind of like teaching. And I think I was pretty good at it. And my students were really, I think they liked me and they liked my style of teaching. So I felt like, hey, this is, even though I wasn't originally interested in teaching, but that's where I got my first exposure to it.
At Middlesex, Shafer became a cornerstone of the communication, new media production, and theater studies programs. Over nearly 4 decades, he helped shape generations of media professionals by emphasizing storytelling, technical proficiency, and integrity. From the evolution of traditional media to the rise of digital platforms, Shafer's career reflects an ability to adapt and thrive in a constantly changing industry.
It's an interesting question because the foundation, as I just said, is really strong. But as you know, the media in the world today is changing a lot. So this program came up in the 90s where broadcast television was a pretty big thing. And we know now in the world we live in today, here in 2024, that broadcast television does still exist, primarily live sports and news. But there's also a lot of different other areas of media consumption. So we are not necessarily building a lot off of the base. We're looking to change a little bit of that core base. We're going to stick with film. We're going to stick with audio because those are strong skills to learn. And we're going to also bring up some content creation and working with social media as areas that students may want to expand into as they learn more skills and obtain careers.
When Rich Lenosi came on board, I think he had a slightly different vision and took us in a different direction, more from in terms of broadcast and media and television. So John had more of a John's vision involved, creating interesting content, films, videos. My whole area kind of came out of things he was doing. So companies were hiring the department to make training videos when I first started working here. And so, little did I know that would become my full-time job, 5 or so years later in the last 25 years for me.
When I first came here, I think it was, it had been a cable television program, Then it became telecommunications, Then we changed it to broadcast communications. Then we changed it to broadcast cinema because we were expanding into, broadcasting and film and whatnot. And then we changed it to digital. So then it became digital communications or digital media, and now the latest thing is new media. So I've kind of been involved in that whole process. At one time, for many years when I was first starting, I was the program coordinator for the communication and media programs, and we've typically always had at least those two. Then when I went off and started teaching philosophy, then I was not the program coordinator for. Well, I was program coordinator for communications, but then Rich Inosi came and he took over the broadcasting end.
Today, alumni of the program are thriving in the media industry, working for major outlets, production studios, and independent ventures, testament to the center's role in shaping the next generation of storytellers. The Center for New Media remains a reflection of Shafer's vision, a space where creativity meets technology and where students learn to tell stories that matter. Artificial intelligence has become one of the most transformative forces in the media industry. From automated journalism to AI-driven video editing, the tools of the trade are evolving faster than ever, promising efficiency but raising concerns about the authenticity and human connection.
Where AI is gonna take over is like the latest holiday ad from Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, one of the largest companies in the world. They spend some of the most. Coca-Cola spends the most amount of money on advertising compared to many other companies. They have really famous Christmas ads, beautiful animation with polar bears and Santa Claus. And this year, of course, they used AI to generate their ad, which means a lot of animators probably got left out in the cold, didn't get hired by Coca-Cola. And there was some outcry over that, like, how dare you guys, one of the richest companies in the world, just let probably somebody type a prompt in and generate this ad. And the ad, it looked like every other Coca-Cola ad, but there was something soulless about it. On some level, it just didn't feel. There's something missing from it because AI generated it.
AI can start replacing people in many respects, but I would say that claim is being made all the time, and it's been made from the very beginning. Oh, this new technology is going to replace jobs, and in many cases it does, but it also creates new jobs. So I'm not sure that I would say AI is any different than any other of the developments that have occurred with technology throughout, modern human history. It's going to change things, and it already is changing things just in the couple of years that it's been popular. But so the idea is when we have to adapt to the new methods of using this new technology. So
Polarization has become one of the defining challenges of the modern media landscape. Once a unifying force, the media has fractured into echo chambers, where audiences gravitate towards outlets that reinforce their existing beliefs. This divide has eroded trust and fueled societal fragmentation.
well, I think media has to take the lead and stop being so polarizing. And because you're absolutely right, we are living in a polarized society right now, especially from a political point of view, to the point where people are becoming so polarized that we're talking about civil war possibly, which is a little, and the thing of it is, it's not just offhand thing. They're talking seriously. People are starting to take action about it. So it's like, wow, this is becoming really serious potentially. I mean, I'm hoping not. Maybe it's just a rhetoric, but so the media feeds into this, and you just identified that because we have these very biased channels and networks that are representing different points of view. It didn't used to be like that. We used to have media attempted to try to be neutral and objective. And I think that's what people want. They really are fed up with all this polarized stuff and are turned off by it. And so I don't, and this is an idea I've thought about too in terms of what we need more neutral, objective media that doesn't try to present one point of view or the other. And
things are very divisive right now in the media, and depending on the channel or station or network you listen to, um, you know those channels, networks, stations tend that people listen to tend to support their beliefs. And I think we're at a point now where truth doesn't matter so much, only reinforcing your beliefs. So we're kind of in a dangerous place right now. I don't know when it happened. Maybe in the last 10 years it's happened.
As the conversation draws to a close, the insights shared by John Shafer, Dr. Philip Fox, and Professor Dan Nocera offer a powerful reflection on the state of the media industry. From the opportunities presented by new technologies to the challenges of polarization and cultural debates, their perspectives illuminate both the complexities and possibilities ahead.
I mean, we're reaching a point where stuff is happening so quickly, and that there's huge stuff like with AI, and they're talking about these super computers that are going to create these super AI, and this is where we're going. Whoa, what's that going to be? Is that going to take over the world? Uh, I mean, I do feel like media is in a little bit of a state of crisis, as is our society. Since media is so integrated, in our society right now, and people are spending so much time with media, then the two are one crisis, because it is a crisis of trust. People just don't know what they can believe anymore, and media has become the center of the firestorm. So, so that's why I would describe it as a state of crisis. And then I'm not sure how that's going to play out. So it's either going to all self-destruct, or it's going to lead us. I mean, it could lead us to some kind of revelation, maybe a revolution. I'm not sure, Thomas. So I mean, certainly it keeps evolving quicker and quicker and faster. But at the same time, I think people are getting fed up with it. Because one of the issues is people are just spending so much time on their damn phones and devices to the point where it's like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. So where is it going? It's hard. I'm not totally sure. But I think it's reaching a point where something has to change a little bit, because it's once again it's reaching this crisis.
I hate to say it, but I think it's too late. It's really too late. There's too many channels, media channels. There's too many things at play. So even if, say, the networks worked really hard at not being so divisive, I think there's other channels that fill in the gaps that people get their news from. Something like 40% of the US population gets its news from TikTok, which isn't even a news channel. It's an entertainment channel that's run by a foreign country. So, I mean, that's scary stuff. And who knows what could be happening behind the scenes with the code, with what they're pushing, and it seems like it's only going to get worse the next few years.
I hope not, Thomas. I really think that people are getting fed up, and it's just like what happened with the last election. I mean, I think the last election, presidential election, where Donald Trump got reelected, even though a lot of people agree that, oh, well, I don't really like Donald Trump, but nevertheless, I'm voted for him. And why are they voting? It's because they're protesting. They're saying, I'm fed up with all of the BS. And of course, they think that Donald Trump is going to fix everything. I'm not sure he's going to do that. Although I'll tell you one thing: Donald Trump is sure stirring up he's stirring things up, and so that's what people wanted. They want things to be stirred up because they're fed up. And I think they're fed up equally with the manipulation of media, because that's where they're getting most of their information. They get it from media. So they're getting fed up with media, and that getting fed up with media is tied closely in with their getting fed up with society, which is one of
In a way, I would agree with it, and I think in another way, I would say it's full of wonderful opportunities for folks to, I'll say, reinvent themselves. Because the industry changes so quickly and because there's so much new technology available, there are really opportunities to push yourself in new and different exciting ways. As an example mentioned earlier, the use of AI. Well, the use of AI continues to grow every week, every day, every month. There are things that I can do with audio, that's one of my specialties, that I couldn't do even 6 months ago with AI. And I think some of those things make workflows easier. And some of those things, obviously, I also have to think about if that is an ethical, social, responsible use of the tool. So I think that's the great opportunity. And because the landscape is changing, those opportunities come up quickly. So that's the power of it. I would also agree with Professor Shafer in that saying that there are some challenges as well. Deep fakes, viral engagement as number of hits, and the way we read those metrics and what they actually mean are troublesome.
cut back. So that's my advice. I think we are way over consuming media, spending way too many hours on media, and we need to cut back. So I'm not. I need to take my own advice seriously, because I still spend tons of time on media, too much time. But the less time I spend, the better I feel. So a little bit of media, I was okay. Too much, it's not good.